Thank you so much for that. I don't know who said, I'm reading my own words and I'm thinking, who's typing nonsense? This is what happens when you get tired and miserable and old. Stop the transcription. Right. Let me go back to the chat so that I can see Oh, it's terrible, guys. So in terms of, my apologies for a sec. So in terms of the ethical considerations, there's certain rules in terms of research ethics. And I think it really is about making sure that we don't manipulate results, that there is some sort of benefit as a consequence of doing our research. But it also has to do with your own values, and it also has to do with potentially us publishing this later. So the transition, obviously, there will be several submissions, and all of these will improve over time. But the three that are essential to your discussion, and these we'll expand on, we'll add additional bits and pieces in. The first one is autonomy. So there are a couple of rules in terms of autonomy, guys. The first one is that it's voluntary. The second one is you're allowed to withdraw from the research whenever you want, and that you will give written informed consent. We'll talk about the written informed consent for the quantitative people, because yours would be online, but we'll talk about that when we get close to actually collecting the data. The second one is to do no harm. So you'll see that right from the start, I've been very cautious of us staying away from what we would consider sensitive topics. So generally, anything sensitive at an honors level, we avoid. We have no sensitive topics whatsoever. So in terms of that, not doing harm, not forcing, not bullying, and all of that kind of stuff becomes important. And then the last one is that it has to be of benefit to the rest of the world. Now, whether it is other researchers, whether it's communities, society, whether you add to existing best practices in terms of the kind of output that you create, all of those would be the beneficent stuff. Now, and please tell me that I've done this, because I've got a lot of classes, although you guys are my most important class. Can I just say that to all my classes, unfortunately? Guys, just remember, in terms of what I've shared at this stage, have I shared the past papers, the past research report submissions? Have I submitted or shared the previous reports? Okay. For me, the best layout, the best. You're my absolute favorite. All of you are my favorites. It's like me telling my wife she's my favorite wife, guys. It means nothing. Sorry. My wife is sitting here and I'm getting things thrown at me. Okay. So, guys, in terms of those that I've shared, please go find Jackie Grant. So if you go and look for Jackie Grant, and maybe I can share that as well, she has what I consider the best layout in terms of covering everything. Now, favorites. Yeah, that's exactly it, Neil. So when I go to my sample research reports, Jack's is this one. Now remember, this is not an honors, this is a postgraduate, so the layout might not be the same ultimately, but this was a very good one. I think it was a 90%er as well. But for me, this is the best example of what ethics and limitations would look like. So if you can just have a glance at that, she talks specifically about informing, she talks about no harm, she talks about benefits, she talks about confidentiality, she even talks about what she did with her recordings and how she'll control the data that she's received. Okay, so that is the first one. The second one, limitations, would be the fact that you have a year, that it is for an honors level. But you'll also talk about the other kinds of concerns that you will have, that you're using a small sample, that you might not have access to all the people. But again, you need to consider that. Jackie was very good with this. Now, and I don't know if they're asking for trustworthiness. My apologies. I can't remember offhand. Ethical considered, and then, your contribution. And it's important to write this down because I don't think it appears anywhere in my slides. I think when we contribute, we aim to contribute in 3 areas. We aim to contribute to best practice. Okay, so we definitely aim to contribute to practice. We aim to contribute to policy. So a lot of the research, and if you look at your topics, I think of the green packaging. I mean, that contributes potentially to a change in policy. Okay, so definitely practice, policy. It also is about contributing to decision making. So part of this process is to assist people in their decisions. Please write those 3 down as the core ones that I want you to mention. The 4th one is limited, because we don't expect at an honors and a master's level that you create new knowledge. Although I think once you've done your analysis and once you've done your discussion, there will be the tiniest bit of knowledge that we add. If you want to add, you can also suggest that we are contributing to a limited extent to knowledge. But it's policy, practice, decision-making, and knowledge. Guys, I don't think I've written that anywhere. I also am just remembering it offhand. So please remember that as part of your contribution. Limitations could be limited number of participants, the limited time, not being able to get to a bigger group of individuals. This, I think, at this stage is not that important. We will unpack those further. You can have a look at the limitations in terms of what Bradley suggested, what Ariel suggested as well. Please remember, if you are using these old reports, the ones that I've shared, I think 2 are quantitative and 2 are qualitative. So you can look at all 4, but when you start doing the analysis and you start talking about your population and the process of working through the sampling, etc., that's where you need to be very careful to make sure you use the right report. In terms of the slides itself, now I would hope that at this stage, people have already started deleting those slides that don't relate to them. So for me, if you're doing qualitative, get rid of anything that talks about quantitative positivism and all that nonsense. If you're doing quantitative, get rid of everything that is qualitative. So to me, that is the first step. Sorry, guys, I've got students bugging me, and I'm hoping that it's not this class. Okay, guys, now, for crying out loud, can somebody please load the link for this meeting? Guys, can somebody just put the link for this meeting on the group? Sorry, I'm getting tense. Who is doing that? I'll hear it. Thanks, Nadia. You are such a star. Thank you so much, superstar. Okay, so let's go through this. So now we can start getting our ideas flying in the right direction. I think title, I'm not going to have a major discussion about the title. I think you have got enough in terms of your title. Don't mess with it too much. Remember, in terms of what I believe we can do to keep the titles as simple as possible, if you're doing qualitative, you should just precede the title. Your supervisor can change it. I'm not going to force this on the supervisors, but I will give them the same set of slides. I'm taking them through the same stuff that you're going through, so we're all on the same page. But for me, if you are going to do qualitative research, please use explore. If you are going to do quantitative research, please use describing or explaining. So exploring, describing, explaining. And you can decide what focus you want to have between describing and explaining. But I think if you're doing quantitative, stay with that. Just stay with explore at this stage, guys. It just makes it easier. I mean, we've got a massive class and we've got to try and keep this as simple as possible. So I'm not going to discuss this again, the title for now. You will refine that with your supervisor. Everyone okay with that? Right. So let's look at this second part. Now, none of the reports I have are perfect, but they get close to being near perfect. So when we look at the research problem, so you'll recall in terms of the research problem, I spoke about the research problem as being the deficiency. I'm just going to steal Jackie's here, Control F. problem. Okay, so she's got her problem statement there. Now, I've always taught the problem statement as follows, guys. For me, it has three components. The first component, now, in terms of the slides, I make the mistake to try and procedurize it by saying part A, what the ideal is. Guys, you will never write that. You can say ideally or the ideal in terms of what we want to be. And I'm now stuck on the green packaging. So the ideal is that organizations would transition to green packaging in order to reduce the impact of plastics on the environment. I don't know who's doing green packaging. So part A is the ideal. Part B, and if you don't get the ideal initially, guys, part B to me is more important. This is the deficiency. Okay, so I don't know whose deficiencies I've discussed at this stage. I'm still going to stay with the green packaging because it's sticking in my head because all the supervisors want to supervise that person. Is that yours, Kesh? Yeah, you're very popular. I don't know what perfume you're using, but if it's working because the supervisors are fighting over your topic, little do they know is that I get all those good topics. No, I'm kidding. I don't know who the supervisors are. So, Kesh, and please activate your mic. The key thing in terms of the part B is to write it as a problem. Now, I'm going to tell you what I think the problem is, and you can refine it and improve it because this is not really my topic. For me, the problem is that plastics end up in the ocean. And because we default to plastics as a packaging option, we are contributing to issues with plastics being found in the fish, microparticles in our food, etc., etc. Is that close to what you see the problem being?
Hi, Dr. Henny. Yes,
Hi,
definitely.
Kish. Okay.
I also think, like, in terms of landfill, that's a huge problem
Absolutely.
because
You see, and again, I didn't think of it. So it really is a bad pollutant. So it goes into landfills. Landfills catch fire. Plastics burn. We had microparticles of plastics in the air, and we were breathing it at Varsity College when the Maritzburg dump caught fire. And you can find evidence of that in the witness, and you can look at that. Guys, remember when you write your problem, start off by explaining your view on the problem. And then please just, and again, we'll grow this as we go through. Just find one or two bits of evidence to support it. There is significant amounts of research around plastics and pollution. So please just reference so that we can see the problem is real and the problem is urgent. Kesh, I like your addition to that. The key thing, guys, is to write it as a problem. Don't tell me what the solutions are, because if you have the solutions, you shouldn't be doing the research. So tell me what the problem is. I'm thinking of alternative fuels to electricity. Whose topic is that? Alternative fuels to electricity, not petrol. James, remind me your topic, boy.
So I don't have my topic on hand with
Just
me
roughly,
right now.
Roughly.
But it's basically the electric vehicles aren't going to work because of the lack of infrastructure. So the alternative fuel sources is a better alternative, basically, than the electric vehicles because it's more sustainable and they can run on the vehicles already on the market.
Okay, right. And I quite like that. So can I just give you what I see the problem to be? For me, the problem is that electric is not the future. We use coal fire and carbons to generate electricity. So if you're going to use carbons and burn carbons to generate electricity to fuel, if that's the right, to charge electric vehicles, it is it's a misnomer, simply because you're still contributing to climate change because you're burning coal fires, and all the contribution to carbons in the air that the electric vehicles will give is simply just not sufficient to justify burning coal fires. Again, I'm pretty sure you can explain it better than that.
Yeah,
Go
and
for it,
also,
James.
also, so just the if you look at the production line with creating electric vehicles with those lithium batteries, they actually cause more harm than just having a normal, even like a diesel bucky. So
Absolutely.
the
What do you
lithium
do?
mines
Those
and stuff
batteries
is
need
so
to be
much more
dumped.
harmful.
So,
Yeah.
so that is your evidence, Boyo. So remember, in terms of that, you know what the problem is. It's bad for the environment. We burn coal fires. Lithium batteries need to be dumped. The way we mine, and I mean, if you go search cobalt mining, sorry guys, I'm stealing now stuff from your second semester lectures, but if you go look here. Now remember, cobalt is a key element in those lithium and electric batteries, etc. Cobalt mining and child labor. I'm sure that's the one I'm searching. I mean, have a glance at this. So there's so many bad reasons to go with electric, guys, and you can see here, and these stories are horrific. I mean, they send 5-year-olds into tunnels, and the tunnels collapse, and all of a sudden they just leave the kid to die in there. So all of this, and I'm pretty sure cobalt mines or cobalt is used in electric vehicles. Can you verify that, James? I think I'm talking to you.
Yeah, you're quite right there. So they use them within the lithium batteries to make them, and also the sorry, I had it right now. When electric car companies like Tesla and stuff say carbon zero and whatnot, they don't talk about the production line. They just talk about it from the factory floor, moving onwards from that. So they don't actually discuss the impact on the environment to create the car. They just say how good it is for the environment after it's been made.
Exactly. So wonderful. I mean, you know what the problem is. Okay. Well, that's exactly it, Georgia. It makes no sense. So you can write that as a problem. Is that fair, James?
Yes, so I've written it down right now already.
Very cool. Okay. So I'm going to stay, and the ideal is that we have alternatives to batteries because of batteries being so bad. So your A there is the desired goal. Electricity is not the future. We know that. Anyone else want to share their topic and we quickly talk about? So I don't know how else to teach this, guys, because once we start looking at examples, this gets a lot easier. Anyone else? No, don't give me your full topic. Just give me an idea of what you're researching. Go, Gabri.
Hi, so my topic is the exploring retention strategies for Gen Z employees in South Africa. I haven't narrowed it down to a specific industry
That's
yet. I'm
fine.
still deciding,
That's
but
fine.
yeah.
That's fine. We might be able to stay with South Africa. We'll see what your supervisor says. I mean, that's also a very nice topic. Lots of attention and competition for your topic as well. So what is the problem? Do you want to go? What can I start, Gabri?
Let me just say that my thing is just that I would say the problem is that Gen Zs are harder to retain.
Okay. So the truth is, Gen Zs are a unique group of individuals, and they will be entering the world of work very soon. And key in terms of any organization is to have some sort of consistency, some sort of core group of individuals that will stay behind. Now, we don't know what makes these Gen Zs tick, what motivates them, what will keep them to actually stay in an organization. And we need to find out what it is. So the problem is they are such a unique group of individuals. I nearly said breed, but that would offend somebody, that we don't know what makes them tick. Is that a fair comment on your problem?
Yeah, I think that's basically what I was thinking, but in more
Nice.
fancy words.
Oh, no, there's no fancy words here. Ek is Afrikaans. I can't have fancy words. I wish you... I'm making stuff up. Can I just say, though, Gabri, you need to just go find some evidence of it. But, I mean, you should have Gen Zs in the workplace already, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's our generation. Well, most of us that's here are Gen Z.
Oh
So,
dear.
well, maybe
Oh,
half
so
of
I should
us.
be very careful because you guys are easily offended and all of that stuff.
Not really. Like, I like my topic because we know ourselves as Gen Zs, we know we are harder to keep in at one simple company. It's easier for us to just leave if we don't like something because from a personal perspective, I've just seen how millennials and the guys above them like kind of suffer their way through life, and we just don't like that.
Yeah, no, you don't. Nadia, what are you offended by? The fact that you're not a Gen Z. Oh, guys, yeah, honestly. That's so cool, Nadia. Yeah, guys, remember, you will suffer through here. I didn't realize you guys were Gen Z. Oh, gosh, I should drink less before class. Go for it, Neil. Neil, you muted.
Sorry, Doc.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks for the platform. Yeah, so mine was exploring the potential role AI could play in the reduction of food waste within the context of quick service restaurants. So think of the KFCs, the Chicken Lickens, all of these fast food restaurants. The more, and the problem is the more and more of these restaurants appear, the more and more food waste there is, you know. So 30% of most food produced will end up in a landfill at some stage. So that's kind of the thinking around where the problem potentially
That's
lies.
exactly it. And the consequences is that we then create methane gases that contribute to climate change. I mean, landfills are bad. And then on the other hand, you have people starving. So, Boya, when you look at Jack's, hers is very much that. You'll find wonderful stats in here. Okay, so Jackie, well, I don't know what her surname is now, but there's wonderful stats in here. Okay, so the problem is we waste food, and food ends up in landfills. Landfills and send decomposition of that stuff will then send it into the atmosphere, contributing to climate change.
Also,
Okay, you
Doc,
have a problem.
another
Yeah,
angle
but
also is with the fast pace of life, convenience is becoming more relevant. So it's not like convenience is slowing down. People are becoming more busy, and as such, they're leaning more towards quick food more often. You know, so yeah, there's that angle around. It's not going to decline anytime soon.
it's
So yeah,
exponential, boy. So
yeah,
you're talking about a problem expanding exponentially. So
yes,
you've got
sir.
a wonderful idea there, boy. So write it as a problem, just find some evidence of how much we waste and consequences, etc. But you've got it, boy. You've got it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, but Deirdre, how are you?
Hi, sir. Good and you?
I'm good, thank you.
All right. So my topic was just the well, exploring potential strategies to like promote productivity management. I'm still figuring out if I want to do like in the context of like the IT industry or what exactly. I still have to do research on what industry, like in South Africa, is the
Okay.
best to like bring
We'll,
forth my
we'll
problem.
refine that. We'll find that.
Mm,
So can I tell you
Yeah.
can I give you an idea of how I
Mm.
see that problem?
Yeah, of course, sir.
South Africa has one of the lowest productivity rates in Africa.
Mm.
Now, if we consider that
Yeah.
we are supposedly the most developed nation, and those low levels of productivity are found in almost every single industry, which makes it very
Mm.
difficult for industries to compete globally, where the country's productivity levels are significantly higher than ours. So
Yeah.
essentially, we are creating a situation with low poverty, with low productivity, that we will start losing jobs because we can't compete against the Chinas, etc. Is
Mm.
that a fair reflection of the problem? And again, what do you want to add?
Yeah, so that's actually perfect. I'll literally write it down because I was more thinking of the problem going from like the shift from hybrid and remote work that outpaced the ability of traditional productivity metrics and management strategies. Like they can't
Okay.
keep up as well. Like you know
Okay,
what I
but
mean?
then
Like
yeah.
something like that.
So we already the lowest productivity. Now imagine we take away the controls that are in a traditional organization because of the transition to hybrid. So there's a risk that productivity levels might even go down further. Okay. Is that, I mean, that's what you're saying. So we've got to find new measures to determine and keep productivity levels high.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Okay, Deirdre. I'm hoping I'm helping, guys.
You. Yes, you are. Thank you, sir.
Okay, fantastic.
Right,
Anyone else? Okay, Tanya, let me see what you've got here. Okay, Tanya, what is the problem? What problem are we trying to solve? You go, Tanya, talk rather than type. Okay, but what? Okay, so if it's the older generation, which I'm offended by now, so minus 25%, it's the older generation. Your mic is broken. Good, because I would have cut you off anyway for calling this the older generation. You know how sensitive I am, guys. The older gen. Okay, so I think we need to redefine exploring the potential of artificial intelligence redefining. Okay, so the problem is that AI is advancing, but there is a generational thing where people in business belong to Gen Xers who are not keen to embrace AI, essentially keeping their processes as inefficient as it's always been. So we've got to check where your focus is. So in terms, okay, so for me, supply chain management has become a core competency in organizations. However, where we've not embraced latest technologies in supply chain, we will find that the levels of inefficiencies could cause organizations to lose customers, to become irrelevant. Therefore, we need to start embracing it. Add to that Gen Xers like the old and staid ways of doing and not having have not embraced the latest update in the available AI techs. Is that about it, Tanya? You've just got to remember where your focus is. Please tell me that because I don't know if it's making sense to you. I mean, in my mind, it's making sense, but then again, everything makes sense in my mind. Okay. Okay, Deirdre, you go, or go, Deirdre. Or is that an old hand?
Sorry, I'm fine. I just didn't. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, stop irritating us, Deirdre. Minus 25%. Okay. Right, Georgia Jade.
Good evening, everybody.
I've hurt Deirdre's feelings. Plus 25%, Deirdre.
Very Gen Z. Good evening, everybody. My topic is how South African organizations are preparing for Gen Alpha in the workplace. So in terms of what I propose as the ideal, this is a new generation, fresh ideas, fresh perspectives, ripe for driving innovation. And is also known to be the most technologically advanced generation, and I'll obviously reference that. But the goal would be to have employers use that to their advantage, tap on this untapped resource, and understanding and speaking to their strengths. But the reality is we don't know enough about them. That's, I think, the problem. And what I try to expose is we don't know enough about them as a human resource. And the oldest generation is currently only 15 in that Gen Alpha. So they're not even in the workspace in many areas yet. There's no research on how they perform or behave and interact in the workplace. Therefore, not historical or quantifiable data to apply. But there is research on understanding their habits and personality in terms of consumers, but not enough research to help businesses understand them as employees just yet. So that's where I was going with where the
Quite
problem
like that,
is.
Georgia. And also, if you think of it, I mean, people will be offering them bursaries soon. And how do you even decide who you offer a bursary to if we don't know what their expectations are? How do you approach them? I quite like that, Georgia Chade. Just remember, you
Yeah.
obviously, who would you have as your sample?
So
Are we
this is
going to
where
speak to teachers and parents?
That's where I was ideally going, because I saw that our ethical limitations within varsity colleges, no one under 18.
Oh, that's
so that's
with
where
everyone. That's
Oh,
global.
really?
Yeah, that's global. It's not just
That's
ours. Yeah. So I think we would
So-
speak to teachers.
Yes, teachers, parents, these are people who understand the behaviors and interest of these kids the most.
I think we'd have to decide one of them, but I would go with teachers.
Okay.
I would
That's a
go
great
with
idea.
teachers. But your problem statement is written. I quite like your transition there. In reality, I mean, I dig that. Okay. You definitely, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, cheers.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
I'm just reading what Sarah's writing here. You're so right, Sarah. So I mean, there's a lot we can learn. Georgia, I quite like that. Nice, Sarah. Tashila, I believe there's a lot of fight over your topic.
Evening, Doc.
How's it, Mel?
Well, thanks, and you.
I'm good, thanks.
Okay, so just going back to my topic, exploring the relationship between the perceived value of environmental social governance and corporate reputation in the financial sector. And then I think, so you can just help me with this, Doc, and just tell me if I'm headed in the right direction.
Okay.
But the problem I've perceived and the gap I've identified is that a lot of financial institutions are obviously implementing environmental social governance from a regulatory perspective, but there's no actual proof, if I can put it that way, or it remains like a topic of debate as to how ESG initiatives shapes the corporate reputation of an organization.
Exactly. So we invest into, you say ESG, okay? We invest into ESG, but how much work has really been done to determine whether it actually affects corporate reputation? Because,
Yes.
reputation is determined by a customer complaining in a blog. So we
Yes.
have no line of sight between these kind of initiatives and also corporate reputation. You're doing it quantitatively, I'm hoping.
That is quantitative, Doc,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. So it is. I mean, a lot of work has to be done that this is
Yes.
actually worth it, and whether we actually aiming and prioritizing and what the ultimate focus of this should be to get that kind of corporate reputation. There's not enough evidence in terms of the South African organizations.
Yes,
And you can
yeah.
go find evidence. No, that's perfect, Tashila. Yeah,
Okay.
also a very, very popular topic, that Tashila. There's some serious boxing over yours. So we'll see.
Happy to hear that,
Cheers,
Doc. Happy to hear that.
Tashila.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Okay, anyone else, guys? Tashila, take your hand down, otherwise I'm going to make you cry like Deirdre.
Luckily for me, Doc, I'm definitely not Gen Z. I think it's millennial or something. I don't even know.
I don't know. When you're at my age, you don't even know whether there are any. All I know is I'm the last one. Okay.
Thank
Anyone
you.
else? Guys, is it your problem starting to take shape in your head? And I'd like to see some thumbs ups. Is it starting to take shape? Okay, Tashila, I've got it. Nice, Neil. Deirdre taking shape. Okay, Kesh, Gabri, nice. Nianta. Guys, anyone else want to give me their title and we can chat? James, nice. Key thing, guys, is that part B is to write it as, okay. Serena, will you stay on a bit after and we chat about it? How's that? Oh, yeah, Pranisha, that is such a lacquer topic as well. Okay, Pranisha, do you want me to suggest the problem? Pranisha, do you want me to suggest the problem? So, Pranisha, the reality is we have a schooling system and a graduate system that is there to create opportunities or to create the potential for people to find jobs within the context of whatever industry. Currently, organizations are starting to advertise the need for people to be proficient in AI when they get to the organization, when they start working. Yet, when we look at where our critical cross-fields outcomes are, we realize that those are dated. There's no reference to AI. There might be reference to technology. So here we have a disconnect between organizations expecting AI proficiency and our places where we produce the kind of people that would be able to find work in the future don't even focus on that. And it's also not considered a critical skill in terms of what we teach people. Is that about a fair comment on that? I don't know, Pranisha. Okay, guys, I'll check now. Kira and Pranisha, does it make sense? Oh, sorry, Pranisha, I didn't see your message. Okay, guys, so let me do the written ones and then I'll get Nathan and Akhil a chance. Let me start with Sipasishle. Okay, you need to stay behind, Sipasishle. Don't worry about it. Being behind and confused, everyone feels the same way. It's my daily life. Stay behind in class, okay? Stay behind in class. NHI, the effect of alternate. Oh, I love that one, Kira. I love that one. Okay, go for the problem. You tell me, and then I'll listen. Just chat. Just unmute yourself.
Hi, sir.
How's it, man?
I hope you're well.
I'm good, man.
Fantastic. So I was just going through the problem in my head, and I had just written it down. The NHI bill has not addressed how it will deal with alternative health practices and what steps will need to be taken by those in this sector when the bill comes into effect.
Okay, so we know, and 100%. So we know that in reality, there are lots of practitioners involved in alternative health practices. There are lots of people that default to these alternative health practices. Yet when we look at the proposal around the NHI, there is no evidence of any suggestion that there is a set of guidelines that will apply to alternative healthcare professionals in the future, which makes it very difficult to know where your future is as an alternative healthcare professional. Is that about right? I think we're saying the same thing.
Yes, I think that's quite good. I was also thinking of going into what possible repercussions would be there if...
Absolutely, you can give those to me. But remember, the repercussions might be more in your rationale.
Okay.
So your rationale, remember the rationale I said to you guys, what would happen if we left this problem alone? The repercussion is you had thousands of practices could close down.
Fantastic.
So remember, that's your rationale, hey?
Yes.
Okay, I dig that, Kira. And obviously you've got your mom to talk to as well, which is great.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
Cheers, Abe.
Bye.
Cheers. Okay, Nadia, cost benefits of employing green supply strategies in, okay, so explaining, so we're doing it quantitatively, Nadia. So if we look at supply chains at this point, I think we have to realize that using diesel trucks, using the kind of forms of transport, the kind of means that we've used in the past to get stuff from our suppliers through our production line all the way to our customers is bad for the environment, is inefficient, and has to be reconsidered within the context of climate change. So the reality is our supply chains contribute to climate change, and we need to find ways of reducing that impact. And there's evidence from what Woolworths is doing. I think you guys know that Woolworths is considering having electric trucks and going again with not that being the great idea. Is that a sound about right, Nadia?
Yes, sir, it does. Thank you.
Okay, so just write it as the headache. I mean, we're inefficient as heck. We contribute to climate change, and if in that industry, that is an industry where a lot of products move often, and we need to find better ways of doing it. Okay.
Cool. Thank you, sir.
It's a pleasure. Akil, go for it. Okay, Georgia, I'll talk to that now.
Hi, Doc.
Akil. Okay, go for it.
So my topic is basically AI versus humanity. So essentially explaining customer satisfaction with AI chatbots versus live human customer service representatives in the staff and telecom industry.
Okay, so are you focusing on a specific generation?
Yeah, mainly the older generation. That's not really.
Stop it with this older generation. I'm teasing, guys. Can't.
That's not really.
So you're looking at Gen X's.
It's fine with the current technology.
So you're looking at Gen X's, boy.
Yeah.
So the guy's born from it. Yeah, it's sort of my age, I suppose. So what is the problem with that?
I have found. Yeah, so the problem that I've found that although that AI chatbots do offer cost saving and efficiency to the companies, they often lack emotional intelligence and that personal touch. So, which could cause customers to become frustrated, especially if they don't get or find what they're looking for.
Spot on, Boya. You know what your problem is. That's great.
Yeah.
And then you go find evidence of that, Boya. But that's it. There's this assumption that humans can be served by 5 options, and when your problem is complex, that you need options 6 and 7, those aren't available in chatbots.
Yeah.
Again, causing customer dissatisfaction. You've got something there. Okay. Okay, but Nathan, go for it.
Hi again, Doc. So my topic is basically I've discussed this with you previously, but it's about the role of like AI in reputation management within the context of financial service providers. Yeah, I suppose it's similar sort of to what was just mentioned about maybe I don't know, maybe it's got to do with customer satisfaction, but also maybe to deal with the I suppose like the use of AI in this field. I'm not entirely sure. I'm still working on the problem statement.
So for me, the problem is there are so many financial institutions that have really contributed to the lack of trust that we are supposed to have in these. We have KPMG, we had Arthur Andersen, all which have made serious mistakes and have contributed to corruption. And I think we're sitting in a situation that when we think of banks, when we think of financial institutions, our default is we don't trust them because we've got enough evidence to say that these guys are dodgy. Now, right. What do we do to prevent that in future? Is that not the problem?
I think that could be the problem, Doc. Yeah. It's just, I just need to mull it over a bit more, if I'm being honest with you.
But it's a real, I mean, KPMG, Arthur Andersen, Deloitte, I think Deloitte has had issues. McKinsey has had issues in the context of South Africa that have literally destroyed any trust we have in these kinds of supposed overseers of goodness and decency and ethics.
Right. So then, in other words, the main problem then would be like how could AI help repair that
you see, you're giving me the solution. The problem is that there's a deficiency. There's reputational damage. There's enough evidence to know that we don't trust. Bain, that's the one, Neil, I was trying to remember, Bain, that there's enough evidence to suggest that these guys are as dodgy as anyone else. And something has to be done to improve an existing broken trust relationship that we have with, as I said, these guys that are there to look after the interests of stakeholders. And Bain is another one. Neil is spot on with that.
Okay. Thanks,
Okay.
Doc. Thank you.
Okay,
Well, I think I've got a basic idea, so I'll just
and just go look for
look
evidence. I mean, Arthur Andersen, Bain, KPMG. I don't know. I'm very sure Deloitte. There's something against Deloitte's as well.
I'll have a look and see, Doc. Thanks.
Okay. It appears that they are as corruptible as anyone who works within the context of government, which is, again, a problem in terms of their reputation. So what do we do to avoid that? I quite like that. And so take the angle that there should be AI systems that will pick up these kinds of mismanagement, deliberate turning a blind eye type stuff. Thank you for that. Very cool. Thanks, Neil. Nathan, just check there. Okay.
Yes, yeah. Thanks so much, Neil. Thank you. And thanks, Doc.
Okay, but okay, guys, let me quickly go through the three phases then. Okay, so in terms of part A, the ideal is. So the ideal is that we have green packaging that essentially eliminate the need, that eliminates plastics ending up in the ocean. I mean, you can write it better than that. Problem, we know what the non-green packaging does. And then, guys, part C. So you will then say, in this quantitative or qualitative research, I intend to engage with subject matter experts to determine alternatives to the traditional forms of packaging, because that's the way ahead, guys. So what do we do to improve it? The only thing we can do at this stage is to do research and attempt to improve it. Georgia, I don't know if that answered that question.
I think it does, yes. Thank you so much.
Okay, perfect. Right, George, I've got yours here. Explain relation between adoption of AI and then financial controls. So we know that in terms of the number of SMMEs that collapse within the first year of their operation is significant, and there's lots of evidence and stats around that. And often one of the main reasons for the collapse is that there is this lack of ability on the part of SMME owners to actually do proper financial control. So we have a situation that we want entrepreneurship, we want SMMEs, we hope that SMMEs will contribute to unemployment, reducing unemployment rates, but they tend to not survive very long. And one of the main reasons, as I said, is the fact that there is a lack of financial control. George, that makes sense? And there's lots of evidence about how quickly SMMEs collapse, eh? Okay, Boya. Right. Guys, anyone else? I think at this stage, and please tell me whether this is helping what I'm doing here. Otherwise, I can't just teach theory. It's not in my nature to teach theory or only theory. Are your own problem statements starting to take shape in your head? Nice, Tashila. Guys, if you want, you can just put something on the WhatsApp group and I will comment, just write your problem statement, because everything hinges on this. Now, when you move beyond this, okay, then obviously, and you can listen to the recording on this, the purpose statement, remember, it's this slide. No, I'm talking rubbish. If you start with those words there, and remember the golden thread in terms of linking it back to the problem statement. The purpose of this paper is to investigate the potential of alternative forms of packaging to traditional plastics in use today, or green forms of packaging. So if you start with those words there, guys, and remember these scripts are important, you cannot end up in the wrong place. It's impossible. If you end up in the wrong place, you can't write English. Okay. And there's some examples here. You can use these. I mean, I've given you, and remember for the qualitative people, please at this stage, quantitative and qualitative people, start deleting the slides that don't apply to you. And please make sure you delete the right ones. So if you want, once you've done that, guys, maybe somebody can upload the qualitative slides and the quantitative slides and we can just share it. Tanya, I've got to figure that out because Tammy had that recording. I did ask someone if they've got access to the recording to share the link. I will also go hunt for it, okay? So that is on my radar. So if somebody does have the link to the first part A, please post that for me. Right, guys, and then just, I'm not going to go further, and I want you to get here, and I think someone mentioned this already. Just remember, guys, rationale and relevance. The best way to answer the rationale and relevance is to ask this question: what would happen if I left this problem alone? What would happen if we didn't go and investigate what happens to alternative healthcare providers? I mean, the consequences are severe. There are vast parts of the population that rely on alternative healthcare options. Okay, I can't even remember who I was talking to. I think it's Kira. Sorry, it was Kira. Can I just see, guys, who is nervous as heck right now? Good, Yashna. It's a good place to be. Okay. Is it starting to make more sense, guys? Okay, that's cool.